Happy day. Welcome to Elevator Talk channel. Today is our episode 7, where we'll be talking about the introduction to financial struggles that modern men face. And so
Mhm,
today, it's very important that we talk about this. I have Clarence with me today,
mhm,
and we're so happy to be here together today. But financial struggles can have significant impacts on mental health and well-being. Many men, feel stressed, anxious, overwhelmed by financial pressures, which can lead to
right,
negative effects on their mental health and their relationships.
mhm,
Secondly, men may feel pressure to provide for their families and may struggle with feelings of shame or inadequacy if they are unable to meet their financial obligations. So, talking about financial struggles can also help men feel less alone and more supported in addressing their challenges. And then,
right,
you
right,
have to understand that, discussing these financial struggles can help men learn from one another and develop strategies for managing their finances more effectively. And so today we kind of want to talk about, these financial struggles, the things that nobody's really talking about. We hear about it, we know about it, and honestly, our pride sometimes won't even allow us to dive into it. But the reality is we have to be honest with ourselves, we have to be honest with our families, and we need to talk about financial struggles. So Clarence, I'm gonna pass it over to you so you can give a little quick introduction on what you feel about financial struggles, and let's go from there.
of course, and I think so. Thanks for the introduction. Welcome, guys, for tapping into the channel once again. Financial struggles, right? It's a big word of everything. It's wrapped around everything we talk about, from real estate to jobs to markets to how we do everything. Really, I mean, you can't go a day go, a day can't go by where you don't hear about some mass layoff or some real estate market over here is dropping and this new bill over here is passed. So pretty much this channel is for you guys to just kind of tap in to know, hey, we understand it. We felt it. We've been through it. And for me, I think I'm still going through it. So I think the financial struggle is not so much of it's just a peak of amount that we just get to, and when that's it. I think it's a constant revolving door, right? It's a constant process where we're still building, we're still learning. But I think that by having this conversation, by opening doorways, having people have an outlet to kind of communicate those issues, it just provides a way out. It provides opportunity for where he has to do better. Be like, man, I didn't even know that. Did you know that? Hey, if you have a budget or if you have this over here, you can open up a lot more opportunities in different doorways for you. So I'm glad you guys chimed in. I'm glad you guys tapped in, and let's get this conversation started. So for me personally, right, from financial struggle, come from a background where I didn't have much. I thought that when I first started getting some paycheck, getting some money, making like 2 grand a week, I was like, look, I'm making this money. I gotta spend it just as fast as I get it. I was like, that's not the right way to go. And sooner or later, I found out I was in debt. I was having these issues financially by not understanding the power I was making and things like that. So you literally 15 years fast forward, doing the military, making even more money, and I'm still making the same mistakes. And it took me sitting down some people, some key mentors, and just like, hey man, like how do you do this? How do I begin to create financial freedom? How do I begin to learn about investing and things like that? So I gotten better by reading. I gotten better by being honest with myself, and then tapping to other people that I saw was successful and just being vulnerable and being open. What about you, bro?
You hit on a key topic, right? I think a lot of it is, being a man, in today's society, it's um, do you be you, be your own man type of ordeal, right? And it's the dumbest statement ever because we're creating mistakes that men have already created that we don't have to recreate, but we're willing to go through struggles just to say that we're man. And it's like that's the weirdest thing ever. It's like, dude, like you're struggling with your finances, but you got mentors, you got fathers, you got all these other people who have gone ahead of you 20, 30, 40 years ahead of you. They already have the experience and the knowledge, but you won't take the pride away and ask for help. For me, very, very similar situation. Came from. I mean, very similar backgrounds. For me, I had mentors who were like super, super wealthy, and I mean they were engineers, right? And so, but the issue was, even though they were super wealthy, even though they were engineers, they still told me they struggle with finances. And these are 70-year-old men of both races, of all types of races and ethnicities, not just African American men struggling. No, these were one of my closest mentors told me he would work until he died because he never understood how to do finances. And he was like, yo, like I just bought a brand new car and I just bought a house. He was 70 some years old, and he was like, I got a 30-year mortgage and I got a brand new car, and ain't none of it going with me. He didn't have any children. So he made very, very good money, a six-figure job for the last 20, 30 years of his life, but he just never understood how to balance it out, and get into the key rhythm of how to get settled with finances. And so at about 17, 18, that really peaked in my mind that I needed to understand finances. I needed to understand what it meant and how to actually go about dealing with finances. And so the key, and this is something that I want to encourage everybody to do, is create a budget. You have to have an ability to track your income and to track your expenses. If you don't track your income and your expenses, you can't tell me you know where your money is going. Point blank, period. And so a lot of people that I do financial coaching and financial education and financial literacy coaching. So I'm all about, helping people out. But at the end of the day, people will tell you, oh, the first question I ask is, how much money do you make? Well, my salary is X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, you don't make your salary. And that's a misconception. This is especially specific for the young gentlemen out there who see $100,000 salary and they're like, oh my God, it's so much money. There are taxes, there are fees, there are all types of things that are associated with that $100,000. So it may be $100,000 on the surface, but the reality is you may only see 40 of that. And people will say it's impossible to make $100,000 and see 40. I can go through in another episode and do a breakdown on the calculations of how you can make $100,000 on salary and only physically see $40,000. But that goes back into the budget, right? You track your income and now you can track our expenses. But what happens is people will say, I make $100,000. So therefore I can get that Mercedes. Therefore I can get that house. Therefore I can get X, Y, and Z. And what happens is you begin to collect more than you actually can pay. And trust me, people always say the debtors, they won't let you get more debt than you can handle. They absolutely will. They will screw you over. The buy here, pay here dealership, all of them people that say, oh yeah, oh, you can afford an $800 car payment a month with your salary. They don't know what you can afford. If you don't know what you can afford, trust me, they don't know what you can afford. And that's why so many people in today's society will tell you credit cards are the devil. They're the devil. And I'll go into another episode on that. Credit cards are absolute. I haven't paid for a vacation in 10 years because of credit cards. But we'll go into that. We'll walk you into those details and the strategies. But the key is, and I'll digress here, you have to create a budget. You have to track your income and your expenses. Clarence, I'll let you wrap it up.
Man, that was good. I thank you for that. That was really good because there was no tangents, no rolling thunder. I think it was something that we need to hear from somebody who actually been through, understand it, but yet it's like, man, now I can learn something, actually provide that to somebody else. So the whole point of this, guys, is not to shame you and feel like, man, my life's just trash. I'm not making this kind of money. No, it's like, yo, I don't understand how this works. How can I learn? Tap in. And this is what this channel is for. It's for all of us to be able to raise our expectations, raise our knowledge, increase opportunities by knowing more. And by knowing more, you begin to do more. And so when it comes to the money, I challenge you guys to, I'm gonna read two misconceptions about men and money. And when you hear these two, think about, do that apply to yourself? And if it does, tap in and figure out what can I do to change it. So there's one stereotype that says that men are better at handling money than women are. I'm like, I've yet to see that. But if you think that's something true, I ask you to challenge it. A second one is that what's it called? It's where men are often taught or not taught how to manage their finances effectively, and this lack of knowledge can also lead to more poor financial decisions. Which kind of the scenario Myra was saying, just because it's the 70-year-old guy had no understanding of how actual true finances work, he was still working to the bone because he kept buying more things, even though he was making a pretty decent money, amount of salary. So if you guys understand, like, yo, like there's something I don't understand here, there's something I don't know here, it's the research is available. There is tons of resources available. Google search, YouTube University, like literally just do the time, do the research. And if you feel like, hey, I don't understand how I'm looking at, what I'm looking for, then tap into somebody that you see is successful to be like, yo, man, I see you got available resources. I see you doing this and that. Can you show me how to get there? And more often times than not, if you just simply ask, they'll sit down with you and show you the game. I mean, unless you see anything different, right, Myron?
No, you hit it on the nail. And like I said, it's the misconception, right? And really, what you talked about, right? You can make a lot of money. The issue is when it comes to money, it's all about the mindset. So a lot of people think that poor is a level of money that you make. No, poor is a mindset. Poverty is the level. That's when you start talking about the level of money. That's poverty. But when you're talking about poor is a mindset. So you could be $100,000 a year and be poor in your mind, and therefore you don't have any money. You can make $1 million a year and be poor in the mind and don't have any money. Just because the money's coming in, the issue is, where is it going? And so, like you said, when you first started off, it was like, oh, I make this money, I got to spend it as fast as I get it, right? And statistics show 74% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, right? And so, if that's the case, then that means somebody doesn't understand finances, or they have a poor mindset. And I don't think it's that they don't understand finance. People understand that if I have $1,000 credit limit, I only have 500 in my bank account, I shouldn't go use that full $1,000 credit. People know that. That's financial literacy. You should know you shouldn't use it. The issue is the poor mindset says, well, I'm gonna make another 500 next week, and I'll use that money to pay the extra 500 before I get it. Because they're not tracking their income and expenses, they don't recognize that, oh, your tire is going to go out next week, and so you don't have any savings set up. So when the tire go out, now you can't go pay the 500, and next thing you know, you get into a debt roll, right? And it keeps going and going and going, and then it eventually hits you, and it's like, oh, we want to go buy a car, we want to go buy a house. Sir, you have $60,000 in a credit card debt, and it's like, well, I'm gonna pay it off. And it's like, nah, doc, that ain't how it works. And so now you're stuck at dealing with 10%, 15% interest rates on cars when you could have got a 3% or 2% back in the day. Now things have changed now. Even with a 780, you're paying 7% now, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But we just want to do a quick introduction on the financial struggles that men are facing today. In the future, we're going to talk about, savings for emergencies and unexpected expenses. We're going to talk about planning for future expenses. This is something that people don't teach or talk about, considering life insurance and disability insurance. How do you maximize your tax benefits? And then you have to be willing to set financial goals. The thing is, right now, I could ask 100 men, what's your financial goal? When somebody tells you financial freedom, what would you say? And I can guarantee you 90% of the men are going to tell me $10,000 a month is their goal. And people say, oh my God, how did you know? How did you know that was my goal? That's not a goal. That's some fictitious number that you think that, oh, if I just make 100, but I told you, I make 100,000 a year, I'm financially free. The issue is I can blow $100,000 a day. And people will say, there's no way you can blow that type of money. Dude, there are people who blow millions of dollars a day. Like, trust me, $100,000 a day is easy. Absolutely easy. And well, what can you buy for $100,000 a day, Myron? I can't even buy a Pagani for $100,000 a day. Okay. So, that there's things I can't even buy that, you know what I'm saying? That, yeah. So long story short, we want to talk about financial struggles. We want to be open. We want to have an open dialogue and conversation. So in the chat, go ahead and drop those questions, those comments now, so that we can begin to address the questions and comments that you may have. And also, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. We will be posting a lot of footage coming out soon. We're trying to get this elevated talk up. We want to get your mind elevated. We want to get your spirit elevated. We want to get everything about you elevated. And the more you are elevated, the more you are exposed, the more you are intrigued and know and have the knowledge and wisdom on how to deal with everyday things, the better you're going to be as a man. And so, and this just isn't for men. This is for women as well. We specifically want to talk to the man because that's our lane. We are man. We understand the man's dialogue and the man's being. I'm sorry, I just don't understand what it feels like to be a woman. Thank God. Thank God for our wives. We salute them and thank them for all the hard work they do for us and for our children and X, Y, and Z. But I never will be a woman, and I'll never truly understand to the core of what a woman is. So I can't speak to that on that level. I can speak to certain things, but I can't speak to, as being a woman. But the financial struggles, I can speak directly to the man on it. I've been there, done it. I had $50,000 in debt, in credit card debt, because I made mistakes. And even though I knew I was making mistakes, I still did it, X, Y, and Z. So been there, done it, got it, did it good. And so, so definitely drop the comments below. Definitely subscribe. We look forward to you guys joining in on the chat, and we look forward to you guys joining on this journey as we go through elevator talk. And I'll pass it off to Clarence to close it out.
Thanks for chiming in. Don't forget to, once again, subscribe, hit that like button. If you have any questions in the chat, if you have any topics or anything we can do better, reach out to us, let us know. Thanks for chiming in. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful morning. Thank you.